Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Brendan and I'm a functional patterns practitioner. I run my own company called Raw Motion Fitness and I help people day to day with their movement, with their pain and with their struggles. And today we're talking about why you're doing the Ski-Erg wrong. Why you need to stop doing the Ski-Erg if you are doing the Ski-Erg and just really take a rain check on that exercise until you've watched this video. I'm going to cover a little bit of an introduction in a second. I'm then going to talk about why people actually suck at this exercise for the most part. And then I'm going to offer you some thoughts on what you can do instead, or what you can do to prepare yourself so that you don't end up sucking at this exercise. I want you to think about this quote from Abraham Lincoln, which is, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe. So to introduce you to this notion and this concept when it comes to your fitness, most people enter the fitness realm and the fitness space by starting with a very blunt axe, and they start just wailing at a tree trying to chop it down. And the reality is that they're not going to get very far. They're going to get disheartened, and then they're either going to get injured or ill, or they're just going to leave and not do what they're supposed to be doing in the first place, which is setting out on a journey to improve themselves. Now, the advent of fitness racing is something that has astonished me, really, in particular in the last sort of 15 years, with CrossFit coming into fitness and really pushing the realms of what is possible for humans to do. At the same time, what I find really interesting is watching how CrossFit has evolved into, let's face it, a steroid-driven industry. The bodybuilding industry was like that and is like that for a long time. You tell me that there's someone on stage in one of these Mr. Olympias that doesn't end up highly strung out on drugs and really unhealthy. It's the same with CrossFitters. I don't believe that any of those top athletes can hold that physique without having some form of supplementation. And that's not natural, and that's not really something that the average person should be striving for, in my opinion. The whole reason people get into fitness, and the whole reason that people want to train better and move more, is to feel better, right? We all want to feel better. We all want to look good naked. We all want to feel good about ourselves. We all want to have some level of confidence in ourselves. Confidence is directly proportional to your understanding of oneself and also your posture and your biomechanics. If you don't hold yourself in the right way and your physiology is distorted, you're going to be in a worse place to understand how you can manage your emotions, and therefore you're going to be more inclined to chasing the ego and chasing that feel-good factor that comes along when you heavily exert yourself. The danger of heavily exerting yourself, in my opinion, is that you end up with metabolic issues, you end up with physiological issues, because you're not really dealing with the root cause of the issue. Like, why am I feeling unhappy about myself? Why do I need to feel better? Well, I don't have a good relationship with food. I've had a bad relationship with other things in my life, and fitness is my escape. That's cool, that's fine, but understand that that is just an escape. It's not actually going to lead you to the path of improving your health overall. Having said all of that, Concept 2 engineered and came up with the Ski-Erg, or Nordic skiing device, in 2009, introduced it to their catalog, and it's only recently really taken off in the industry. The idea of wind resistance training has been around since the 1800s, and we've got things like assault bikes and rowers that have been very instrumental in helping elite athletes get better at their sport. Listen to what I said there. Elite athletes getting better at their sport, not average Joes who sit on the couch all day getting fitter and stronger to feel better. That's not the market that they were looking for. Now, why people suck at this exercise? They suck at this exercise because if you imagine that your body adopts positions over time based on gravity, based on your genetics, and based on your daily activities, you're going to understand that your body gets stuck in certain positions. My back is a case in point. I spent many years growing up carrying a golf bag on my back, hitting golf balls on the driving range, and not really dealing with my dysfunctions in my structure and not training the way that I should have trained, and therefore I've ended up with poor posture. If you take someone who's broken their arm, like I broke my arm when I was younger, and it got wrapped up in plaster of Paris, and for 6 to 8 weeks I couldn't move my wrist. But the reason they put it in plaster of Paris was to stop me from using the arm because the bone wouldn't set. Now think about this. If your bone sets and calcifies after being broken after an inactivity period, what happens to the bones and the muscles in your body if you've sat on the sofa for 10 years and then you jump up and decide to join High Rocks, or you decide to start CrossFit? Your body's going to be fixed in a position that isn't congruent with the exercises that you will be doing and putting yourself into. How does the body cope under stress is the next thing you need to think about. If your body isn't good at dealing with stress on a mental, physical, and emotional level, your body's not going to be good at dealing with the Ski-Erg. And so what you'll end up seeing is a whole bunch of people flailing their arms about, getting really rounded in their back, and just feeling generally exhausted at the end of it. The reason I say this is because I care, and the reason I say this is because I see a lot of people creating a path where they deplete their bank account. In a previous video, I mentioned you've got your bank account, which is me, my energy system for the day, and my relative bank balance. And then we've got a savings account, and your savings account gets topped up by the stuff that you've got in your bank account. If I keep depleting my savings account and keep depleting my bank account by pushing my body to its limits, by not addressing the postural issues and dysfunctions that I have in my spine, at some point I'm going to run out of money and I'm going to need some help. And that help will either come from someone like myself, or it'll come from a general practitioner or a physio, and you'll end up in a vicious cycle that never ends, because the medical system is not designed to help people solve their problems. It's designed to treat their symptoms. What can you do instead of doing the Ski-Erg? The first thing you've got to do is get an assessment on yourself. Whether it's from someone like myself, a functional patterns practitioner, or whether you just stand there looking at yourself in the mirror and go, well, actually, what does my body objectively look like, not subjectively look like? Objectively, how well is my posture oriented in space? The second thing you can do is ask yourself, like, why do I actually want to do this exercise? What is it going to serve me in the long run to do this exercise? And if you're really still hell-bent on doing the exercise, you need to prepare yourself by understanding how your core functions. It's not just an exercise of swinging the arms and trying to use your legs. It's actually an exercise of integrated function of the core, the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, and your lats. Your lats and your core need to work together to help with thoracic extension, and also your glutes and hamstrings need to work together to help with hip extension. At what point in the Ski-Erg are you actually going to get hip extension? Well, that depends on how you're training and what you're using it for. My advice would be to stick to specific exercises to increase the function of your core to the level that you need it to be at. For example, you could do a plank, you could do a quadruped position, or you could simply just get into the 10-week online course with Functional Patterns to really understand your core function, and then use those exercises to prepare your body so that when you go into deep hip flexion, you're in a much better position with thoracic extension, with the quads working well, with the balance of your hamstrings and glute functioning well, and with good thoracic extension and hip extension when you come up. The other thing you can do after you've done all that prep work and you've prepared your axe to chop down the tree is to test it and video yourself, and then at the end of that video you can say, right, have I actually improved my mechanics and gotten the workout that I want, or am I just flogging a blunt axe against a tree and hoping that eventually it'll fall down? With that in mind, guys, I hope this has been helpful. If you want me to do a deeper video on this, I'm happy to give you some more information on core function in deep hip flexion. And if you don't understand any of the phrases and terminology that I've just used, then you shouldn't be doing a Ski-Erg in the first place. Have a great day, stay strong, keep moving. I'll catch you in the next one.